Hello and welcome, as today's date is that of Thursday, the 9th day of July, 2020. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel, where, like always, all bets, trades, and of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. And for myself, risk reward management, always job number one. Let's take a look at Bitcoin on multiple time frames, starting with the quarterly or 3-month chart, and then continuously moving back to wherever, like 15 minutes or hourly. And amongst such on this, it's never been in a downtrend, and it really hasn't even been in that much of a sideways consolidation, given I don't have the 18 average in here, but I mean, this would have been a bit sideways in here during the lower ends here, which was a correctionary phase from this breakout. And then now we're in another correctionary phase. An attempt about 4 or so periods ago last year to escape it didn't succeed, but it's doing so far succession in correcting this move. And now it doesn't need to go up that much bigger to get into a situation. Oh, we're back into a bull market trend, and it's spending a lot of time lately here within this upper end of this 18 average. Last month, the month of June, not much volatility at all. One of the more lower ones that we've had in quite some time. I remember this this situation here when it was at like 6,000 was like, oh my goodness, no volatility. The low this month was 67 or 6,055. The high was 67.56. That was about a little over 10% volatility. Last month, I'm counting this for the first time. I didn't prepare for this. It's probably, that's a bit higher. High of 10.4 and a low of 88. So that's 1,600. So that's volatility near 20%. And so far for this month, we have a low of 89, a high of 94.79. So that's a difference of about 500 and change in points. So 10% would be 900 and change. 5% would be like 450. So that's about 6%. And it's only day number 9. There's going to be more volatility, most certainly or likely, within such. But as the chart goes, getting above in here, we can see if it goes to this area, be a test of this level, also be an attempt to get this thing back going again. It's in a sideways consolidation pretty much since the highs post 2017, late 2017, start of 18. And below the band, above it, failed move below, back within it. And until we get really above these levels, you can say this thing would be in a full-fledged large bull market move, sort of like was the case back in 16 and 17. And as far as downward action, because of this low volatility, price action remaining at the upper end, the 18 average of lows is rising. It's currently in at about 7,300. And a $7,300 move, or move to 7,300, is like almost 2,000 basis points or 20%. So if you ever do see any significant down moves, we're down 5% or 6% for the day. Well, it's correcting within, it still has a long ways to go to break this downtrend or for it to go down. At least we look at this on a long-term perspective. 18 average in here, well, spending a lot of time within the 18 average of highs, and it's just doing nothing. So now all of a sudden, it's now going below it, and if it doesn't do anything, this 18 average of highs will start to flatten out. 18 average of lows is rising. That will continue to be the case for a while until we have any type of big declines or more continuous sideways action, as of course it's got a decent amount of time to catch up to it. 18 average of lows currently in at 8,250 on this time frame. And as for what it's worth, I can talk again about a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern if there's any decent sized declines, because inverted head and shoulders pattern, just basic, this that means just that. And well, there's your left shoulder, there's your head, and if it does any type of move down here, that could be a right shoulder. But if it's a parlay event, multiple things to occur, it have to go down, then it have to go up, and then it would have to break the neckline. So all those things would have to take place. But again, we're looking at the fact this thing needs a decent amount of gain, well noticeably above 10,000 to give us any type of consensus move that it's in any type of strong uptrend. And it hasn't been going down, so any type of move would be like, okay, there's some sort of retracement, I suppose. 3-day time frame, look, this is microscopic in here, like 1, 2, 3, 4 of these periods before here. That's just nothing. It's just hanging in there, like around the low 9,000 area. Right now we're at 9,200. We can see in here we have this little bit of a tick higher. We'll see it better on the daily chart from the session a couple of days ago and yesterday. Where we went up from the 18 average of lows, grinding down on the lower end here, low rate of descent. So you can see just small moves in here. There's a nice little up move. And well, like I've been mentioning, we haven't even been testing any of these lower areas of support. I mean, 8,100 is like a 11% move. And if that's the case, if there's a decent sized move, that's where I'm next expecting support to be found at, and a good chance that it would. And that's only on the if situation. But as this goes, and you're going to see this better. I think it's on the 3 or 8, but we have the 18 average of lows. If this thing starts to falter through, probably going to test that area. It was an attempt to break by it. And if we see this, the 8 hour shows it very nice, actually. This is a spot where we had that failed breakout. We can see it gets above it in here after it was in a downward move in here. This wasn't a chance to get out of it. This was just resisting. And if it would have went higher or proceeded to move later, which it didn't, then that would have been an attempted breakout. But this was, I guess, the later where it did. Gets above this level of resistance. So the must hold area didn't do it. Didn't have that real big of a failed move. If anything, it just went to the where it came from and supported for quite some time. It did have this attempted breakout on the 1st of July, did not do so, but it did do that very nicely on the 5th. And in doing such, having 3 green candles up to barely pierce above previous resistance, support where it came from on its correction, and then have another second wave higher, but both of them were of low, nothing too fantastic a move, but most certainly noticeable highs in each situation. It has made a lower low from this one, but it has made a higher high from this all general area in here. And as it goes, whenever it makes any type of attempted breakout, which this is, now what's the must hold? 18 lows and where we came from. So support where resistance was. Where was resistance? Where resistance was in this general area where we are now. So we're still at the stage where maybe it finds support, maybe it doesn't, but I can continue to look through this. If I see weakness and breakdown setups within this general area, then we're most likely going down to previous low and probably got a decent chance of maybe even making at least one more leg lower than that as well. On the contrary, if we start to see price action breaking out above the 18 average of highs, that means we would see this as a successful correctionary phase from here to here, thus higher lowing this to whichever one you want to do in here. And then you see the next stage as it's starting to build momentum moving forward, then that gives me I think it's great opportunity and probability odds, I think, for it to have a leg higher, thus get above these highs. And then where would we see resistance? Well, Fibonacci's calculations you can do, we got this previous high. One way of doing Fibonacci might be from this low to this high as well. You'd be looking at maybe a 61.8 in here, but you'd be looking at a significant leg higher at least. And then from that point on, oftentimes you can just reestablish the situations from the point you go in here. And this is oftentimes when I see something like this, it's breaking down below the lows. Okay, yep, this could be starting a downtrend, but when it has a move like this, that's why the time frame I had before, I'd rather use something like this as that big indicator tool when I see something like that. Now on this one in here, it was just a large move that happened earlier today. And I'm going to switch this off to the tether because then the charts will look just a little bit nicer because there's not as much volume on the Bitstamp, but it has more data for the purposes of the long term. So the market was having its run, one leg higher, correct. One leg higher, correct. The one attempt in here didn't do so much, correct. You can say it's successfully corrected, but not really, because this attempt in here from this failed breakdown starts to rally and then it stops in a kerplunk mode. And that's not that common, I would think, but interesting, I could say the least. Either way, when you look at situation from this low, or this low, and you could say look at this high in here. So here's a level. It already broke support from this point, and it was retracing but unable to get above this high. Well, now we got retracement from this low to this high, and of course not so great. I'm looking at the short term for the first time on here. We'll take a look at this on the 15, finding a little bit of support in here, but when it got violated, it just really had a big kerplunk moment. And since then, what the market has done is just continue to go sideways. How do we react from this? And you can say all you want back at, say, 11 o'clock when the price was $9,220 that it was oversold at that time frame. And it was. Now it's not. And it's almost wild card. Okay, where do we go from here? If we fail on the downside, then we're obviously going to be continuing this decline, obviously further for lower legs down. And if not, now we're in retracement mode. If this is a real sell-off, then you expect that 61.8% of retracement and a bit more. That is going to likely find resistance there and then go lower. And it's not a surprise when that happens, of course, as well. But it still has this short-term range because resistance has been monstrously established, noticeably so easy, at about the 9,203rd level, so 92.33. Support, a little bit of an uptrend we can see here, like a small uptrend. I can notice it's just something like this and like this. either way, if this, because we're just, I mean, there's not much left in this, like it's going to crunch to nothing like by here. And this, of course, will rise above the straight line. We do have support basically in here. And that's at about 9,200 even. That would be about a 100 and a little over 1% range. Not that big. But again, volatility has been very, very small. And on the 4 minute, you just a low volume sideways range from the move. That's not a surprise with these markets when you either up or down, and this of course being down, when you have a move and it just goes sideways. And how long will it take? I don't know. Until it's not. I think that's a better answer. And 1 minute time frame, you're probably seeing a lot of choppy action above and below. And then you can see the higher lows in here, where you got just in this little area. And at some point it's going to break. And a lot of things to look for is volume, because of course this volume is just really, really tiny at this point. And this is just short-term 1 minute nonsense, as far as I'm concerned anyway, when it's getting to this stage. Because for me, the 1 minute time frame is something that you can say is important when you're looking to make a trade, meaning it's time, when it's time to buy or sell something, then you can just play around with it. But even for that matter, this is just, short-term. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.